Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Golden Astrologer Podcast. This is Deb McBride, and I am recording this in fabulous, wonderful Escazú, Costa Rica, on Sunday, May 4th in the year 2025. And the big news today is that Pluto has gone retrograde. So this is a moment we have expected. I talked about it last week. And as I mentioned last week, this is Pluto going retrograde in Aquarius and staying in Aquarius. So it's not retrograde back into Capricorn like a year ago when this happened. And remember, it took until September to go back into Capricorn. But now we are firmly planted in Aquarius for Pluto. And so this is important because we're no longer picking up the vibes of the past. The information that we lived through with Pluto and Capricorn is now complete, and we are working with what we've been dealing with since November 19th, which is when Pluto went into Aquarius. So it's funny, today I was talking to a friend and she said to me, Pluto's gone retrograde. Oh God, not back into Capricorn. And I said, no more Capricorn. We're done with Capricorn. I was surprised she said that because, I didn't expect her to like go that far. Like, oh no, not that. And I said, no, we're not going there. We're not going there. We are finished with that. And then she said, those were the dark ages. My friend Claudia, I said, the dark ages, yes. Yeah, those were some dark ages. Yes, they were. And so it was really interesting these past few days because, usually when Pluto goes retrograde in these last dark ages, I really felt something darker. Okay, let's just be blunt, darker. Or mushy, uncertain, not really clear, and kind of uncomfortable, maybe traumatic. It was reaching into something heavier, okay? Heavier energy. Don't feel that now. And actually, this has been an interesting few days as we began the month of May on Thursday. The energy has been really busy, social, chaotic, even. Just a little wonky, wacky, but Aquarius is a bit of a wacky sign. I can say that I'm an Aquarius, but I really felt like I was experiencing a lot of not turmoil, just excitability, things happening, people, stuff. Like, okay, so a week ago Friday, we had no water for 12 hours. Okay, no water for 12 hours, and that was complicated. And so then that was my part of the property, and then the other side of the property on Friday had no water. And so they've been repairing things and fixing things and stuff. And so my friends Monica and Alejandro came through my house to go to the washing machine on our side to do their laundry, and I had just finished mine. And so they were back and forth here on Friday morning, and so I was navigating people coming through because I wasn't going to tell them not to come through because, well, she owns the other side of the property, so I wasn't going to say, no, you can't come. So of course, and we've shared water experiences, so it was definitely a back and forth. And then I was getting ready to go out, and I said, you have my key, and just come through when you need to get the rest of your laundry. And so there was that. And then as soon as I went out, I was out for hours. And then a friend contacted me to go to dinner while I was out in the afternoon. So then I came home. When I was coming home from being out in the afternoon, the Uber driver got a flat tire, and then we had to get out of the Uber, and then I went to get another Uber to come back home. So I had to wait, and it was rush hour. And then when I got back here, I only had about an hour before my friend was picking me up for dinner. So I was going back out again. So it was a lot of good, nice socializing, but boom, 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 fast, chaotic, crazy. And I'm like, okay. And then yesterday was a number of things. We're going. No, we're not going. Yes, we are going. We're going. And then today was like more of the same. And then people calling me randomly, people getting engaged, people having workshops, it's been the most, I would say, upbeat, chaotic, but upbeat, Pluto retrograde experience that I can remember in a long, 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 long time. I don't remember so much of the Pluto and Sagittarius moments of going retrograde, and I don't remember it being this upbeat kind of energy. Maybe with Sag, but certainly not with Capricorn. And I remember Scorpio, and it wasn't this. So I guess Pluto in Sagittarius was more of these more upbeat energies. And I can certainly say if this is going to be a lighter feeling with Pluto in Aquarius, and of course there's light and dark in everything, as I always say, and Pluto is from the underworld. So there is going to be, and there will be, some moments that are not entirely comfortable with Pluto and Aquarius. It's not going to be a big party. There's not going to be an overall theme of a big party, I don't think, like Pluto in Sagittarius. And there's a lot of people upset right now about what's going on in the world. And I think we are seeing a lot of discomfort already. But for my own little life, considering Pluto's on my sun, I would say this is one of the more lighter, life-affirming experiences of Pluto going retrograde. Now, we're still in the moment. I could have something tomorrow that could feel very, very deep and intense and perhaps dark. But right now, it's been like all the hard work is now starting to show up as maybe achievement, maybe some results, etc., for some of us. And then, as we get deeper into this transit, Pluto is not a frivolous energy. It's dark, it's deep, it brings things out from the underworld, but it can also bring out your hidden talents. Like, look to your Aquarius house. Where do you have these energies moving through there? Because something deeply transformative can happen, but also it can show you the things that you aren't or haven't been giving attention to. And so, and this happened during COVID too. I mean, plenty of people had the Saturn Pluto in a place that actually showed them where there was some creativity, there was some light, there was some, even in a dark time like that, there was a whole bunch of people that said, well, I had to not go to work, but I did this other thing, and I didn't know I was capable of this. So some of those moments happen with Pluto, no matter where it is, really. Like, you find your resilience, you find your strength, you find your leadership. These are things that happen with Pluto. So we want to look to those places that we have Pluto in our horoscopes, and we want to really try to find the innovative leadership and the experience of how we can give to the world on a bigger level. We can make a bigger impact. Aquarius is altruistic. So we want to see those things happening in our own world. So that's the positive side of Pluto retrograde. And of course, there's going to be things that we see in the news that are going to definitely give us pause and, stuff to talk about. That's not pretty. But for the moment, I think I'm seeing some positive things in the people around me. So that's a good thing. There were some tears from some people. Yes, there were. But they weren't end of the world tears, which I'm grateful for. So anyway, this going forward this week is not what I would call a dark week. I don't think that we've got such dark energies. I think one of the reasons it's been chaotic these last couple days is because the moon is in Leo, and the moon was hitting Mars and first opposing Pluto, then hitting the Mars that's still within orb of opposing Pluto. So the moon's been traveling a bit, and it just, added an extra flavor of creativity and chaos, that the moon opposite Pluto with Mars in there can actually offer us. So there was some of that going on these last couple days, and now that's starting to go by a bit because the moon in Leo is now further away from Pluto and much further away from Mars. So we are looking at the moon going into Virgo tomorrow at 3:40 p.m. Eastern time. So now, like I said, I don't see this being such a dark week. Probably one of the more contemplative things we're going to have is that Mercury is going to conjunct Chiron at 9:48 p.m. Tuesday evening, the 6th. And that's in Aries. And so Mercury's way out of its shadow now. Mercury's done with the shadow. Mercury's done with the retrograde. It moves quickly, and it is definitely now moving forward through Aries, getting toward the end of Aries, and it's going to conjunct Chiron. That will get us to think about some stuff, about our wounds, about our healing, about the traumas we've experienced. You may feel that you are connecting with something on a deeper level and healing it. That could be something profound and powerful. And that could really happen for people this week. It also offers us a chance to take a step back and really look at where we are with our wounds, our traumas, our feelings, our collective wounds, the self, which is Aries, which is where they are. And, has our independence served us, or has it maybe driven things in further? Where is our unique quality of being ourselves and completely ourselves? Where is that maybe a bit wounded? We got chastised or wounded from being who we are. And so this is affording us a time to heal that. We've got 4 things in Aries right now: Chiron, Mercury, Aries, later Aries, and Venus and Neptune, which are still conjunct at the early part of Aries. And so there's a lot of fiery energy happening, which is supporting the Pluto in Aquarius and the Mars in Leo. So there's lots of flow happening, and that's good. That's a good thing. So this is where we start to recover from the Mars retrograde as well, because Mars is now out of its shadow. Finally. This is such a big moment. And I was talking to someone else today in the garden, and she was saying to me, I'm just starting to feel good now. And I said, yeah, that's because Mars is out of its shadow since December. And, there was the pre-retrograde shadow, which was last, November, maybe October a bit. But really, we've been in this same place with Mars for months. And now, even though it went direct at the end of February, we have experienced over 2 months of this review, relook, revisit everything that we've been through. And now we can start to feel like we are going forward for real. So I'm very happy to see this. I'm very happy to feel this. That may be another reason why I felt the energy was very big and bold and stuff these last few days. And fun. It was kind of, I don't care. People are coming through my house to do their laundry. They're my dear friends. So it was good to see them. I get to see them in a little bit of extra time on Friday. And so yeah, this is where we start to really open up our hearts, because it's Leo, and we say, hey, we can go forward big ways now. We can really make some action happen. Mars won't go retrograde for another 2 years. Thank you very much. This has been a time. And it is good to look back on what you accomplished, what happened. For me, I can say there were definitely moments where I dug up stuff that I didn't expect that came forward to heal. But I was in a couple of programs with a mentor, and so it was really intense. It was really intense because I had to gain wisdom from those things, not let it stop me, move forward, heal myself, heal my life, understand it, the things we do when we're healing, the things we do when it's been brought to our attention. But they were life things that were bigger than I expected. So, wow. I'm glad. I'm happy. We can celebrate now. This is a time to celebrate. So, congratulations, everybody. We made it. We made it past the Mars. We're on the other side of it. We made it past the Mercury. We're on the other side of it. The only one we're waiting for now is Venus. And that will be in a few days. As I had told you last week, that Venus isn't going to really go out of her shadow until about the 15th, 16th. So we've got, another 10 days or so, 12 days, till she's really moved past that. And then we can really see all systems go. I'm happy for that. I'm happy that we are going to actually feel like now I can go forward. Yes, Pluto's going retrograde. Yes, Pluto is retrograde now. Yes, but that's not the inner planets. That's a bigger collective cycle that we have every year for 5-6 months. And so it's not that inconvenience and difficult day-to-day stuff. It's just sort of in the background. And it does mean some very strong, powerful things, but it gives us an opportunity to look back at where we've been all these months since November. And we may be surprised in how that really has served us, and the difference between what we knew last year and what we know now. And I feel a complete difference from when it went retrograde and traveled back into Capricorn from September 1st of last year till November 19th. And I feel a complete different energy. It wasn't like, oh God, here we go once more into the breach. It was not that. It was that it's much more life affirming this time. Last time it was like, oh God, back there again. Okay, we'll get through this. But now I think there's a lot of positive energy around us right now. So I'm happy to report that to everyone. Tomorrow, Mercury in Aries will sextile Jupiter in Gemini, and that's great too. That's positive. That's opportunities, optimism, thinking big enough to get outside of our boxes, thinking strongly so that we can make something new happen. It's time to do that. How exciting for us. That's great. Mercury and Jupiter, Mercury is in a fire sign that Jupiter likes. Jupiter likes fire. And Jupiter is in Gemini, Mercury's sign. So this is a nice exchange with Mercury in Aries, Jupiter in Gemini, and they have things to say to us. And so pay attention. Listen. The more conscious we stay in these moments, the more conscious we are going to absorb information consciously. We're going to absorb information and be able to really step into our power more and step into the excitement of doing something new and feeding our creativity and nurturing our projects. So I like Jupiter and Mercury talking to one another. Then there's Venus and Pluto talking to one another sweetly on Tuesday. So these are positive aspects. They're sextiles. They're flowing. They're not stopping us. They're not giving us obstacles. It's not the end of the world. It's not going to feel heavy. Venus and Pluto are sextile from Venus in Aries to Pluto in Aquarius, and they're having a nice conversation. So it's good when Venus and Pluto have a nice conversation because we're not in that triangulation energy that the square and the opposition and sometimes the conjunction can bring. And so Venus and Pluto go deep in the creative process. They ask us to go deep in the creative process, and we're able to connect with our creativity between Jupiter and Mercury the day before, and Tuesday we have Venus and Pluto. And I really think this is really positive and optimistic for our week ahead. So good. Moon goes in Virgo, stays in Virgo until Thursday when it goes into Libra at 3:06 a.m. Eastern Time. And so, we've got some things in Aries. As I said, we've got 4 things in Aries. So the moon is going to go ping, ping, ping and hit all of them in opposition. First, it will hit Neptune in opposition. Then it will trine Pluto because they're both in air signs. Then the moon will oppose Venus at 1:22 p.m. on Thursday the 8th. This is the day that I think has the most energy because of those lunar oppositions, the moon hitting all those planets and points that are in Aries, and right up until it's getting ready to go into Scorpio on Saturday at 3:58 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, in the meantime, Mercury is changing signs this week. Mercury is going into Taurus at 8:15 a.m. on Saturday the 10th. So this is really now Mercury and the moon will be opposing each other in fixed signs. That's special. Give me a second. Remember, moon in Libra, making lots of connections, especially with all that Aries business, but Mercury will slip into Taurus from Aries And it will not oppose or get an opposition from the moon while it's in Aries and the moon is in Libra. It's going to go into fixed signs. Mercury is going into Taurus, 8:15 a.m. Saturday. So what will happen is the moon will enter Scorpio, like I said, 3:58 p.m. This is all Eastern time. And then promptly oppose Mercury at 5:15 p.m. on Saturday. Pluto, remember Pluto is in early fixed signs, early Aquarius. That means now that they all switch to fixed signs, Mercury goes into Taurus, that means they're going to get entangled with Pluto. Okay, so now we're looking at a whole other set of parameters. Before, when the moon was bouncing through Libra very nicely, it's talking to the planets that are all grouped together in Aries. Like I said a minute ago, it's 4 planets in Aries, 3 planets in Chiron. And moon is just going to slide out of there as Mercury slides out of Aries into Taurus. And so this is a combination with moon and Mercury opposing each other, which they do all the time, and they do this every month. But this month, it's going to be in a fixed sign. So it's going to be early enough to square Pluto. So all of this energy, the moon is going to square Pluto at 11:42 p.m. Saturday. So Saturday is another energetic day. It really is. It's another energetic day. And the moon is going to hit all of the fixed energy between the Mercury, between the Pluto, and then later the Mars on Sunday, the next time we meet. And so what's going to happen is that Mercury will square Pluto after all of this, and that'll wind all of it down on Monday the 12th, which is a week from tomorrow. That's information for next week's podcast, but I will tell you this. That day, we've got the full moon in Scorpio. So the sun in Taurus, the moon in Scorpio, and we're just plowing right through that Taurus season right now. Plowing, no pun intended. I know it's an earth sign, but we are, I think it's starting to rain. Hey, we are getting all of that fixed energy moving. So this is a whole other thing we need to start paying attention to, is that we were used to things in Libra and Aries triggering that Pluto in Capricorn. Now it's things in Taurus and Scorpio triggering Pluto in Aquarius. But I do think we are going to see differences. This isn't like, oh yeah, the Mercury is like tangling with Pluto again and it's dark and I'm brooding. I don't think it's that so much as we're given the power now with Pluto and Aquarius to innovate. We're given the power to do something different with this energy instead of be brooding. Remember, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. That's a lively planet. It has everything from electricity to innovation to static to excitability to over-caffeinated to another quality, which is a little more anxiousness, a little more nervous. But it's still an upbeat kind of planet, where as opposed to being in Capricorn with Pluto, we were getting the touch of Saturn, a little more brooding, a little darker, a little gloomy, a little more, another lesson, I have to work hard. This is the moment. See, I think that when these planets start touching Pluto in Aquarius, this is the moment when we can start having bright ideas. These are moments when we want to keep moving in a new direction, not in the same old overly structured place that we were before. Overly structured. Maybe feeling a little boxed in. Now we're free a little bit. Aquarius is the sign of freedom. Aquarius loves freedom. Uranus loves freedom. So we're looking more into these freer energies, free thinking, freed up to create something else. It's like there's space that has been made for us now, and it's open. So, if we have our hearts open, we will start to create from our heart, which is a beautiful thing. So we are having quite a bit of fixed energy move in on us next weekend. And then that full moon in Scorpio, yes, ruled by Pluto, yes, but it's I feel like it's going to get us to go deep moments, deep creative moments. And we're really asking ourselves how deep we can go into our creativity instead of being a brooding Scorpio moon where we're, depressed or crying or anything like that. I feel like we're going to get some special energy. Moon's going to oppose Uranus that day too. So even when it opposes the sun and makes that full moon at 12:56 p.m. on Monday the 12th, it's then later that night, 10:35 p.m. Eastern time, going to oppose Uranus, because Uranus is getting to the end of Taurus. And it's going to, I think there's brightened up energy here. I think there's energy for us to use the Scorpio full moon wisely and with an eye to the creative and the innovative. For sure, because Pluto is now in Aquarius and the ruler of the full moon is in an innovative sign. So I'm very curious to see what this looks like. There is definitely a shift when outer planets step into their sign and stay there, as opposed to, I got 1 foot in and 1 foot out, like Neptune right now, and like Uranus later this year. Neptune's in Aries, it's there, we're feeling it, we're seeing it, we're understanding it a bit, but when it really goes in next year, then it's there to stay. That's a whole different situation. It's a whole new ball game. So, right, we are in a place of, deep creativity, asking ourselves to go deeper with our creativity, asking ourselves to tap into our own innovative skills. We all have them. Don't think you're not creative. Everyone's creative. You may not be artistic, but you're creative. Everybody's creative. Creative energy lends itself to problem solving as well as art. Creativity could be in the sciences. People who are in laboratories. I had to get creative when I was a chemistry student. There were times when I had to think creatively, and certainly I remember on my organic chemistry final exam, we had to think creatively to solve the organic chemistry problems. Even though there were formulas that we knew, there were things that asked us to think creatively about how to get a result. So creativity comes in all forms, and it's so important for us to recognize where things can get creative. I hear all the time from people, oh no, I'm not creative, especially when I say something to them in a session. Well, this is really creative. This is like a real strong creative point. Oh no, I'm not creative. They don't think of themselves as creative because they're not an artist. We somehow have confused the words artistic and creative and think they mean the same thing. You are naturally creative. You can make a baby, right? You can go into your kitchen and boil a pot of water for a cup of tea. That's creating something. You're making something that wasn't there before, right? Well, it's just boiling water. Yes, but you are in a little process with that. You can make your scrambled eggs in the morning, right? This is all creativity. And it's important to connect to that on a regular basis instead of like having our face in our phone, So that's not creative unless you're doing something that you're making your art in your Canva app and you're going to make your art for your posts and promoting your business. That's creative. That's doing art. But just scrolling and mind-numbing things that's not creative when it's mind-numbing. You might be at a job that you feel is mind-numbing, but there are other parts of your life where you come alive, right? There's other parts of your life where you can go into your creativity. It's creative. You have to be creative every moment of the day when you're raising a child. You have to be. I have to be creative with my cat. Sometimes I have to trick her a little bit to get her to come in the house when she doesn't want to. Those kinds of things. We're being creative all the time. We just don't label it as that because we somehow have confused these words. And we think, oh, I didn't get time to be artistic. That means I didn't get time to be creative. You're creative sometimes when you're driving. You have to find another way to get to where you're going. So I want to emphasize that because people don't really think of those things. We're not taught to think we're creative. We're taught to think we're all supposed to be analytical and pushing paper and stuff like that. We're not. That's not. Humans are naturally creative. We're part of nature. And nothing's more creative than nature. So we are not separate from that. it's time of the year of fertility, of Mother Nature, of watching the cherry blossoms bloom, to watching the rainy season come here when the ground feels fertile. And this is all Taurus season. This is all Taurus season. You know, I don't think it's an accident that we have these things happening during our experience of Taurus season, that the cherry blossoms bloom up north and the rain starts in Costa Rica and everything smells deep and fertile and delicious, and your senses are alive. And as you know, people in the southern hemisphere are deep in their autumn, you know, where it's, you know, the leaves are falling and they're turning and they're juicy, and you know, we know what autumn is like, right? So Taurus really asks us to look at Mother Nature. Taurus asks us to experience the earth and to be conscious of, you know, the season, the cycles of nature that we're in, as we gear up for that Scorpio full moon in a little over a week and a half. Now, if you're in Costa Rica and you would like to come to a workshop, I'm doing a workshop next Sunday, the 11th, in Costa Rica, here in Escazú. And what we're doing is I'm partnering up with my neighbor, who is a numerologist and a painter. And she does a lot of mentoring with painting and working with the brain, and she's very interesting. So she is doing a numerology life path thing with me while I'm talking about astrocartography. So we're blending the two together because we're seeing the similarities between what astrocartography shows you and what your life path numbers and your numerology can show you. So we discovered that no one else is doing this, and so we decided, hey, let's give a workshop, and this is going to be a lot of fun. So we're getting a nice crowd. If you're interested, contact me, deb@debmcbride.com, or info@thegoldenastrologer.com, and you can let me know you're interested. It's 10,000 colones, which is about $20, and it's going to be 2 hours from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. If you're in Costa Rica, it will not be online. I'm sorry, everybody, not online. And maybe if this goes well, maybe we'll do something online and we'll announce it to be online. It might be a little more complicated to do it online, but we're going to have this nice workshop where it's going to be hands-on and people get to look at some of their numerology information above and beyond the life path numbers and their astrocartography and how they relate to one another. So very exciting, innovative. We're going to have a good time, and let me know if you're interested. Otherwise, you can have a session with me on Zoom or in person if you are in Costa Rica. And I am here for astrology sessions. I'm here for Reiki. I teach Reiki also. So I teach this 5D Lemurian Reiki. And if you're interested in that, you can contact me, or you can go to my website, thegoldenastrologer.com, and see the selections that are available to you to have your Reiki session or Reiki education or astrology session. And I also do lots of card readings. There's lots of different kinds of cards that I read. And also I have my expansion mentoring if you want to work with me for longer periods, where we will use some of my tools and techniques I learned from Reiki astrology and my quantum integration coaching, all rolled into the expansion mentoring, which you can do 3 months with me, 6 months with me, or 12 months with me. Very exciting. And we can work together, and the whole goal of that is helping you change your life, fall in love with your life, reach your goals faster. Working with a mentor has helped me tremendously, and especially in these months with Mars retrograde, in the programs I've been in, it's been really helpful, and I really felt it guided me through all of this chaos that we were in with all those retrogrades and eclipses. So it helped me tremendously, and I'm very grateful for her and her work. So I am here for you. Just contact me or go to my website, goldenastrologer.com, and sign up. And I'm on Instagram, The Golden Astrologer, if you're interested in little astrology tidbits throughout the week. Have a beautiful week. I think this is going to be a little more lighter than it has been in these last weeks. So, especially these last 2 weeks. So I think we're heading to some different territory. Be blessed, be happy, be grateful. I'm grateful for you, for all of you listening, and thank you so much. Have a beautiful week.